Good day, traders. Edge with High-Tech Trading Analysis. Today I'm going to give you a short video presentation on a couple indicators that I've converted to TradeStation. My supply and demand with optional swings, and some of you might be here as you clicked on the link for a video demonstration of my swings indicator. Because the supply and demand indicator has that same code functionality built into it, I just figured I'd kill two birds with one stone and do both in the same. Those of you looking for just the swings can cut this off about halfway through, and if you're interested in seeing the differences between the two, you can continue on and take a look at what's going on in the zone indicator. First things first, let's take a look. The current version that is in the App Store of the supply and demand is for 9.5 only. I have recently converted this over to a 9.1 version that I will upload to the App Store, if not today, very, very soon. It has almost all of the functionality of that of the 9.5 except for one specific thing, and I'll try to cover that here in the video in just a bit. So if you download and install this and you open this in 9.1, I believe you'll see a screen that looks like this telling you that it requires 9.5 update 10.4 or above. This will soon change. So now we've gone to the App Store, we've installed it. Here's a couple sample screens of what you should see. The installation will install both the indicator and a sample workspace. Your workspaces are located in your program files, TradeStation 9.5 or 9.1, depending on what you're using, in your My Work. And you will see a sample workspace called Supply and Demand with Optional Swings version 1. It could be version 2 or 3. I already have an update. Version 2 is coming real soon, and I'll continually update this as time goes on. In the analysis techniques, or in your indicators, you will see an indicator or a technical analysis. It says supply and demand with optional swings sorted under the S. Now, this does say trial ends in 10 days. I know the current version that I have on the App Store, I set that trial as 5 days. That was a mistake on my part, and I am going to extend that. So in the next updated version, you'll see that the trials will be extended to a minimum of 7 days, and I'll probably make that 10. So now the first thing that I would suggest is that when you install the indicator, the first thing that you do is open the sample workspace. Now, as you can see, I'm using the source code, so my indicator is going to be named a little different. My workspace is going to be named a little different, but yours will be supply and demand zones with optional swings for both your workspace and your indicator. As you're going through this, just don't confuse my workspace with what you're going to see. They're the exact same thing. I'm throwing a 5-minute chart, a 15-minute chart, and a mean Renko chart. And that might change in the future. I've been asked by a customer that it would be nice if I provided a workspace with the same interval, or let's just say that this ES chart, 5 minutes, that I provide 4 or 5 of these with various types of configurations for the zones so that they can quickly and easily see the difference on how it would look real quick when they open their workspace. So that might change in the future as well. What I'd like to do is start off with the swings. So if we go into our format analysis technique and we take a look at our indicator and we format it, you're going to see several properties under your inputs that you're able to change. Outside of aesthetics, there are only a handful of these that you're going to be concerned with in how things are affected and displayed on your chart. If we bring over our manual or our documentation that is provided on the App Store as well, we can see a brief description here, and I'll try to cover most of this, and then the same parameters that I'm going to try to cover here in just a bit. I try to list those parameters in the docs and tell you what those mean. So as we follow along, as you go through here, you might want to follow along with the documentation. In order, I'm just going to change this to the swing. So in your supply and demand, you have an SD type. This can be set to either true or false. True means it's going to show zones. False means that it's going to show swings. So we'll come back into the formatting analysis and we'll take a look at the formats of this. I realize that if you're looking at my swing indicator that these parameters are going to be a little different. Instead of active line color supply, you're going to see active line color swing high, active line color swing low, active line color style. They might be named differently, but the principles are exactly the same. Let's start from the top to the bottom. So if we're dealing with the swings, we turn our SD type to false. In the swing indicator, you're not going to have that. It's just going to be the swings, period. The SD style does not apply to the swings portion of the indicator. So in the swings, you're not going to see this at all. The most important aspects of the indicator when it comes to the swings is how they are formed. And that is going to be formed from the left strength and the right strength. Now, what this means, my current settings are 48.3. We'll get rid of that. We'll close that. What that means is I have a left strength. And that means that this bar here that is currently showing the swing high has to be the highest high of the last 48 bars. And in a normal swing indicator, that would be 48 bars to the left, and then it would form 48 bars to the right. In this case, I give you a left and a right strength. This has to be the highest high of the last 48 bars to the left, and then whatever my right hand setting is, after that many number of bars, this is going to form on my chart. So in this case, I have my left setting to 48, my right setting to 3. If this is the highest bar of the last 48, and it's still the highest bar of the last 48, after 3 bars, this is going to form on my chart. Now, I can set that right hand strength as low as 1. I can set that right hand strength as high as 48. It's all going to be dependent on how quickly you want these swings or the zones to form on your chart. Now, there's some give and take to this. If we go back into our analysis and we go back into format, right below that we have show broken. This means do we want to show all of the broken swings that took place? There's a true false setting. False means don't show broken. True means do. So for now, I'm just going to set this to true to show all of the broken swings. So this was a swing because it was the highest high of the last 48 bars, and after 3 bars, this formed. Once I got a higher high than that particular swing, this swing becomes broken or inactive. Same type of thing going to the downside. Now, what I wanted to explain and then the effects of this is your right hand setting can have a lot of different effects. By having the right hand strength too small, you will start and you will get a stair-stepping effect. And what I mean by this is I have a swing low here that got broken out. All of a sudden I have another swing low. I have another swing low. I have another swing low. We took out this swing low and created another swing low. And this is all because of the strength that I'm showing this, is that if this is the lowest low of the last X bars, after X bars, show this swing. If I were to go into this and change that format to say 12, watch these swings here. This one here, this one here, this one here. You'll notice that they no longer are here. And that's because this was no longer the lowest low of the last X bars after 12 bars, nor was this, but this was. So you have a decision to make. Do you want the swings to be created very quickly without any type of confirmation and be displayed on your chart immediately, per se, after 3 bars is pretty immediate? Or do you want to set that at a higher rate so that not as many are formed? Now, I personally prefer to keep this on a lower setting, let's say 3 to 6, maybe even 2 in some cases, because I like to see this stair stepping down. This is showing me I've got a swing. I broke this swing. I've got another one. Immediately, I've got another one. Immediately, I've got another one. This is showing me a stair stepping downward and a possible trend. When I start to see this stair stepping, I don't want to fight that trend until it stops. If we take a look at this side, we're seeing the same thing. I'm seeing a higher high, stair stepping. I'm breaking these, a higher high. I broke this, a higher high. I'm seeing a stair stepping going up. Well, until that stops, I'm not going to fight that trend on the way up. All of a sudden, now I've created a higher high. I'm no longer taking that out. I create a swing low. Now I create a stair step. This upward trend movement is now over, and I've switched into a downward movement. Now I can start looking at these. Now, I'm not here to try to teach you methodologies on how to possibly trade supply and demand or swings, or I just want to try to give you the idea of how these are created, what parameters affect them, and how you can change those in your program. for the most part, once you have all of your aesthetics set up as far as the colors go and the styles and so forth, those will be really the only two parameters that you'll be playing with to determine how you want to see these form on your chart. The left strength, the right strength, whether or not you want to show broken or not. Okay, from the swings aspect, we have a line color, supply. Now, supply is a swing high. In your swing indicator, you're going to see active line color swing high, active line color swing low, active line color style, active line color transparency. So in this, same thing, just a different name. I can change this color up here to whatever color I wanted. If I wanted my swing highs to be blue, I could just change them to blue and say OK, and now they're blue. Or I can change them to any type of RGB type of values. Now in the documentation, towards the last page, I show you the colors. If you want to type in an easy language color reserve word, these are the colors that are available to you very easily just by typing in the word. Although, because I allow you to use RGB colors, here I have a PDF file located on my website that will show you the various colors and RGB values that you would need to change to show that. So let's just come down here and let's say that we want to use well, let's pick a dark color. We want to use this color right here, a magenta 4 for our swing high color. So 139.0139, and it would be this color here. Let's come back over to our platform. Let's go into our technical analysis. Let's do a format. I'm just going to take this one since this is what I have for my zone colors. You would not see this in the swing. I'll throw this up here like this, and then all I have to do is say 139.0139. I believe that was the numbers that I pulled off that PDF. And I say OK. My swing high colors are now that RGB color that I just picked out. So by using the RGBs versus your names, you have almost an unlimited number of colors that you're able to pick out to display both the swings and or the zones. For now, let's go back into that and let's just make that red for simplicity's sake. Also in the documentation, when it comes to the line style, and this is for both the active and or broken, we can set them to solid, dashed, a dash 2, a dash 3, and a dot. What that would mean would be a dash dot, dash dot, dash dot, dot, or all dots. So you have 5 choices of styles to pick from. Now, just to show you that, we'll set that on 3. This is our active. You can see how the style of the active swings changed. We have a dash, dot, dash, dot, dash, dot, and so forth. So you can play around with the aesthetics, and that's all this really is aesthetics. How do you want to see your broken? How do you want to see? I kind of like that. So we'll take that to 3. We'll take that back to 0. We'll say OK, and now my broken or what I just did for my active, and my active are solid. Everything outside of the left and the right strength and then the show broken is all aesthetics. What colors do you want them? What styles do you want them? How about even the transparency? We can see that this solid color up here is it's pretty solid. But if I were to change the transparency, and the transparency can be 0 to 100, if I were to change that to, let's just say 60 and click OK, wonder which one I just did. I might have just did broken. I did. We'll go back to 40. I want to look at the active, and this time we'll go to 70. Notice how our active swings became less or more transparent. They're more behind. They're less prominent. Depending on the colors that you use and the styles that you use, that transparency might play an effect as to since this is red, 70 might look okay for you if it was red, but if you were to change this to a magenta or a purple, maybe that same transparency wouldn't work. But it's all about aesthetics. We have the color, we have the style, we have the transparency. We have that for the active, we have that for the broken. We also have price labels over here on the side. Those price labels, again, in this particular indicator, say supply and demand on them. In your swings indicator, they'll say price label color, swing high, swing low. Same difference. I let you color your swing highs and your swing lows or your supply and demand whatever color you want, and differently independent of each other. So if you wanted your price labels for your swing highs to be red and your swing lows to be green, you can do that. Now, the transparency currently is tied into them both. So the transparency that you select for your labels of your zones, whether they're supply, demand, your swings, whether they're high or the low, that transparency will affect both, no matter what color that you have. I think this pretty much concludes everything that you're going to see from the swing side of things. It's really rather simple. It's all of the parameters are mostly aesthetics, except for the left and the right strength, along with whether you want to show your brokens or not. So let's now take a look at the zone side of things. To get zones, I just changed my SD type to true. The same parameters, the same everything is going to apply to this side. Except for from a zone standpoint, we have one other parameter that we can deal with, and I'll try to explain that here in just a minute. But the principles of how these are formed are going to be the same principles that the swings were formed on, based on the left and the right strength. So if I change this to zones and I'm looking at just wicks, I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to close. Now, instead of looking at just swing highs and swing lows, I'm actually seeing a zone or an area of supply and resistance, or support and resistance. Call it supply and demand. Call it whatever you will. So let's now take a look at how some of these properties affect how some of these are formed, how they're shown. Let's just get right into it. Let's come over to Let's come over to about here. Going to go into the format analysis technique. We're going to show our broken. Now, you can see that all of these previous, the same type of thing happens with our zones that happens in our swings. Depending on the right hand strength, we tend to get stair-stepping up and stair-stepping up, but they're formed with the same principle, left and right hand strength. But we do allow a different zone type. Now, coming back to our documentation, our SD styles, we can display our zones in one of several ways, and I'm about to introduce being able to create the zones for the height of the zone based on the average true range of the last X number of bars, and even possibly give you a fixed size for those particular zones. So if you want all of them to be 5 ticks, or all of them to be 10 ticks, or all of them to be however many ticks, I believe in future versions I'm going to give you that option as well. Currently, we're looking at the open, the close, the wick, the body, and the bar. What does this mean to us? Currently, I have this set on wick. Okay, and if I take this back out this way, we'll just look at this particular zone. We can see that this one was formed, and the zone is being formed and surrounds just the wick of the bar. This red bar here, it's on just the wick of the bar. Let's see if I can get a better example. I would like a little better example of what I want to do. Close. Oh, I don't mean to take so much time. Sorry about that here. Okay, even though I've got some zones stacked on top of each other here, I'm going to try to use this. So right now we have this on wick. If I were to change this formatting, and I were to change this to the close of the bar instead of the wick, what I want to do is I want to look at this one right here, because this is a red bar, and I want to look at this one right here because it's a green bar, and then I'm going to show you one down below that's covering this right now. Notice how this zone right here now is formed on the close of the bar. This is also formed on the close of the bar. Now, this only encompasses the wick because the close of the bar was green. This encompasses the body because the close of the bar was red. So in this, the same thing happens here. This is still only encompassing the wick because the close is green and the close is above the open. Let's go back, and so that would be the close, or if you did the open, it would form to the open of the body of the candle. Or if you did the bar, regardless if it's a up bar or down bar, green bar or red bar, or however you look at it, it would encompass the high or the low to the full body of the bar. Or if you set it on bar, it will encompass the whole bar itself. So let's show you how this can drastically affect how your zones are shown. We can see that here it's encompassing up to the close of that bar. That's a green bar, closes here. I just want to show you, take a visual look of what's going on here. We're going to go into the techniques. We're going to get this out of the way. We'll go into format. I'm going to set this on wick, and I'm going to say OK. You'll notice that all of these zones changed, and in most cases became much smaller. I tend to use the wick more than I use anything else, mainly because that reduces my risk. If I'm looking at zone trading, swing trading, depending on whether you're playing breakouts or not, tend to lead you to counter trend trades sometimes. And if I'm going to take a counter trend trade off of a previous zone at the top, I want to try to limit my risk to as much as I can. If I show it to the close or the whole bar, let's do that. Now we're going to go from wick to bar. Notice how much our zones increase. Now, it does one of two things, though, also. It also eliminates a lot of zones on your chart. You can see that these are much more prominent and probably more applicable in most cases. Now my zones are based on the whole bar from high to low of that particular bar that formed it. The problem that you might have in setting this to something like this is on this 5-minute chart, this might not be bad. But even on this 5-minute chart, we can see down here, this is an ES chart. So we're going from 65.50 to 71.75. I have almost 6 points or 24 ticks in this zone down here. For me, the risk tolerance of that is too great. Now, I will look at it sometimes this way and not necessarily try to take a trade right off the top of the zone and put your stop below the zone, but yet wait for price action down into that zone to decide whether or not that's going to hold. We can see that we're coming down here. We make this. We have our pull back into this area twice before it breaks out into the other direction. We can also see that in this case, we form this here. This is good support. This is good resistance. That's good resistance. That's good resistance. So by looking at it this way, you will find that the zones can be more prominent or can hold more, but they will also give you more risk. Now, the next thing that we can also do to try to clear up the clutter on our chart would be, right now I have my left hand strength set at 48. I'm changing it to 100. Notice how much of this disappears off of your chart. Getting that stair stepping up I was talking about. stair step, stair step. I mean, there's no way of not creating these. You just have to experiment and play long enough to understand that once this takes off and breaks and I start getting the stair stepping, then this straight off this zone to the downside might be good for a scalp, but be careful. The trend seems to be stair stepping to the upside. Again, I'm not here to teach you methodology, just to show you the difference of your left and right hand strength on how that makes it, and how you can create and display your zones based on the bar, whether it be wick, body, bar, close, open. I believe I've covered most everything else when it comes to the formatting. So here we're just changing our zone types between zones and swings. Here we're giving you a type or the height of the zone that will be formed based on the bar itself. We have a left and a right strength. We can show the broken or hide the broken, and then we can set all of our aesthetics as far as the colors of the zones, as far as the transparency, and so forth. I believe that should give you a pretty good head start. It's just a matter of, everybody asks me, well, what is the optimal settings? Guys, honestly, there is no optimal setting. It depends on the type of trader you are, what methodologies you're using. Are you a breakout trader? Are you a reversal trader? Do you want to see, I mean, if you don't mind seeing a ton of zones on your chart, then a lower left-hand strength might be more applicable for you, so that you can start seeing the stair stepping and avoid that pitfall. Or if you don't want to see all the clutter on your chart and you only want to see what you consider major particular zones, then maybe a higher strength. I mean, in an aspect like this, I show a 5-minute chart. The default template has this set on 48. 5-minute chart, there are 6 bars in every 30 minutes. There are 12 bars in every hour. So I looked at it like this. If I want to see the highest highs that happened only within the last 4 hours, since 12 bars are in an hour, and I take that by 4, I get 48. Now, if you were looking at a 15-minute chart and you wanted the same zones off of it, there are 4 bars in an hour. So then 4 times 4 is 16. I would then, as you can see on my 15-minute chart, set my left-hand strength to 16. And I would get the same type of time period, saying that I'm getting 4 hours here, and I'm getting 4 hours here. And you can see the effect of that. Now, the difference between these zones will be the difference between a 15-minute bar and a 5-minute bar. Whether you're looking at the wick or the body or the bar or whatever you're looking at, that of a 15-minute bar is going to be greater than that of a 5-minute bar. When I'm coming down here to these new Ranko bars that they've put in, I don't use anything less than 100 for a left-hand strength, because there's so many bars that formed over such a short period of time that I only want to see what's considered, what I would consider more major proportions of a swing. But this is something you'll have to play with and decide what best fits your eye, because what fits my eye doesn't necessarily work for you, and what works for you doesn't necessarily work for the next guy. There is no holy grail to this, or there is no standardization. Start with the template that I give you. Adjust things up and down according to what best fits your eye. Start to play and start to develop a methodology around what you're seeing. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions, I can always be reached on Skype. If you go back into the documentation, my support information is here. This is my website. This is my email. And this is my Skype handle. If you have any questions, just reach out and let me know. Other than that, thanks guys, and have a great day.